listening to Cinemajaw, the greatest movies podcast ever, recorded on location from Cinemajaw Studios in Chicago. My name is Matt Kay, and with me is...
Rod, the movie guy, and sitting to my left is Fill Me In Phil.
Hello, boys.
This week on Cinemajaw, Matt, because we were off last week, we're a little backlogged, so we have 4 movie reviews this week, which means it's a...
Review-O-Rama.
Damn right it is. It's a Review-O-Rama here on Cinemajaw. What are the 4 movies we are going to be talking about?
Well, Ryan, we're going to be talking about Napoleon, Please Don't Destroy the Treasure of Foggy Mountain, May, December, and Saltburn.
What a collection of films.
What a collection of films indeed. Yeah. Exactly none of these is like any of the others.
Exactly. I mean, we really are all over the map with these 4.
Way all over the place.
Yes. You just came out of Napoleon, I believe.
I just came out of Napoleon. That is true.
Exciting. Besides that, it is December. We have a new theme, which we are going to be announcing. Plus, no guest this week. We're going to play some trivia. That means that it's Stump the Kubinski, and in honor of Napoleon himself, Joaquin Phenix, we're going to play Joaquin Phoenix co-star movie trivia. So think of people who have been in movies with Joaquin Phoenix.
Okay.
Sound good?
Sounds good. He's had a lot of great co-stars.
He sure has. Absolutely. It's already December. Happy December. How was your Thanksgiving?
Pretty good. You know, went out to Kalamazoo, Michigan, where my folks live. It's very relaxing. Nice to get out of the city for a bit. How about you?
Very nice. Stayed local. Went to my cousin. Saw family. Saw friends.
Yeah.
Watched a lot of movies.
Phil?
Mine was great. I was telling these two, nobody in my family argued. It's unheard of. It almost feels like it was in some ways a disappointing Thanksgiving in that.
You know, Phil, when no one in your family argues over Thanksgiving, spring is actually going to be 6 weeks early this year.
I'm holding my tongue every year.
There you go.
But we are back at it here.
We are. We're back.
Which is exciting. And as we mentioned,
Has it been 2 full weeks since we've jawed?
I mean, that was a long time.
Over because we're recording on Friday this week.
That's
right.
true. So, wow.
And it was like a Wednesday. It was like over 2 weeks. I mean, we very seldom go that long without seeing each other. Unbelievable.
Yeah, that was a long break for us.
I was beginning to think, without the constant approval and validation from these two, that they hated me.
Never could.
No chance. So it is a new month, December, which means a new theme. And we looked at this calendar of films coming out because right now at the end of the year there seems like just a ton.
A barrage.
Yes. I said, man, who do we got here? And lo and behold, a movie I've seen, I hope you get a chance to see, and then we're going to review, is Poor Things, and it stars Emma Stone.
What the fuck?
And that is going to be our soundbite right there. If you don't know,
you picked a winner there, Ryan.
Yeah, if you don't know what the soundbite is from, that is from Superbad, and it's one of the funniest scenes in the movie where Jonah Hill is drunk. He's coming on to Emma Stone. He's saying why he likes her so much, and then he slips and he falls and he bangs her right into the face. Like his head goes right into her nose, and it's at this moment we all fall in love with Emma Stone.
I love that. What the fuck? It's it's like forceful.
Yeah, and her voice sounds like a guy at that point.
Yeah.
You know,
she throws it down an octave or two.
She really does, which I think Phil is going to talk about with our first Emma Stone fact.
Yes. So it's kind of like her trademark, right? Emma Stone's like lower, raspier kind of voice.
Is it? I didn't know that.
I think so.
Okay.
Absolutely. It's like, because that's the thing. You can hear Emma Stone better than you can see her, which is a compliment. I'm not using that as a detractor.
Not hard to look at, though.
No, I agree. But Emma Stone apparently is not the biggest fan of it. She went to E! Online and is quoted saying, "I still can't believe I sound like this." And apparently, so her lower-pitched kind of husky voice is the result of something called a baby colic that she had as an infant. It's a chronic condition of crying.
Oh, yeah, sure, yeah. I've heard that term.
Why don't we do these for adults? Because, I mean, maybe I'm often told I have the opposite effect, that I'm kind of nasally and high-pitched. I wonder if my frequent crying has contributed to that at all. But yeah, apparently she was like crying for 6 months, and it resulted in the development of something called nodules. I'm not a doctor. I have no idea what that means, but it sounds horrible.
No, just gives you timber. How do you think I got this beautiful voice?
A lot of crying, the same way we all did.
Actually, it was whiskey, cigarettes, and coffee for me, but...
Hey, I've had those nights, and there's a lot of crying involved.
Oh, yeah, sometimes.
But yeah, she now has calluses on her vocal cords as an adult, and...
I mean, she sounds great. I love her voice.
She does, but you're right. It is a raspier, huskier voice.
I guess I never really noticed that, but it's true.
It is. It fits the character. I think we've known her now for so many years that we just take it for granted. Like, yeah, that's Emma Stone, and we're not thinking like, oh, it's an odd voice to have. I don't know.
I got to rewatch Favorite Things. That was a great one.
You mean The Favorite?
The Favorite?
Yes.
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
gotta
I was
rewatch a lot.
combining Poor Things and yeah.
We got to rewatch a lot. Emma's great.
She is great.
She is. I was going over her filmography trying to pick out that soundbite, and I had that one, but it was swearing, and I thought, do we want to go with, the F-bomb for the soundbite? So I was going through her filmography and just having a blast because she has so many great scenes and clips throughout her career already.
Yeah, and lots of different tones. Like she's in serious stuff, scary stuff, comedies, all over the place.
Yep. And I have seen Poor
Musicals.
Things. I've seen Poor Things, the new Yorgos Lanthimos film. I love it. We're going to review it here on Cinemajaw. Just waiting for Matt to check it out, and we will discuss it.
Maybe next week?
Maybe next week, if not the week after.
Okay.
So it's a tight month here. I mean, we're getting into doing our top 10, and
I know.
a lot of stuff going on here on Cinemajaw.
Indeed.
So speaking of a lot of things going on, 4 reviews. So I say we get to it,
Let's
Matt.
get to it.
Yes. Up first, Napoleon. Ridley Scott, the director of such epics as Gladiator and Kingdom of Heaven, and such classics as Blade Runner and Alien, has teamed up with Joaquin Phoenix for the new film Napoleon. Napoleon Bonaparte is a name most people know. He has appeared in several movies, including fan favorite Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. But it has been some time since he had a full-on big screen adaptation of his life. Ridley Scott's new movie was made by Apple and will stream on the service after a theatrical run. Matt Kay and I headed to the theater for one reason: to see if I was taller than the great military commander.
Generals gathered in their masses. Move along now.
Those in power only see me as a brute, unfit for higher office.
Just like witches at black masses.
But I follow in the footsteps of Alexander the Great and Caesar.
Evil minds that plot destruction.
If you look down, you'll see a surprise. Once you see it, you will always want it.
Sorcerer of death construction.
Before one-name superstars we know like Madonna, Cher, Beyonce, there was Napoleon. As you're listening to this, try to think to yourself, can you name one other Napoleon? And I'm not talking about Napoleon Dynamite. I'm talking about an actual Napoleon. He became famous after becoming the Emperor of France and attempting to take over much of Europe. Ridley Scott's movie focuses on Napoleon's life from when he was a commander in the military, winning an important battle for France, to when his leadership had run dry and he was exiled. During this time, he falls in love with Josephine, played by Vanessa Kirby, and we see how much this relationship influenced his decisions. This aspect of the story was the only new sight into Napoleon's life for this viewer, and I fear that's going to be the case for most. In fact, we don't learn much about him or have any kind of emotional connection in the film. The battle scenes are well done and do feel epic, but nothing I saw is what I would say extraordinary or a must-see. I found Ridley Scott's movie to be on the safe side without much to say about the little man. As for Joaquin's performance, satisfactory. Wish I could say it was better, but I did not find any depth here. And that is kind of my feeling toward the whole film. That said, I didn't hate this either. I chalk that up to the grand style in which it's told. Matt, your thoughts on Napoleon?
Well, first, I'd like to say Napoleon Bonafrog from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is another famous Napoleon.
Okay. Never heard of him, but
And second, yeah, man, I agree with you almost completely. I walked out of the theater really disappointed. Having started the year with a great Joaquin Phoenix movie, I was looking forward to this. It was on my list for the fall movies. I mean, it's Ridley Scott and it's Joaquin Phoenix, arguably one of the most exciting actors working right now.
Sure.
And it just was kind of a dud. His relationship with Josephine was probably the best part of the movie. And sadly, like at a certain point, I was just like, okay, make the movie about that. But they don't, you know, they keep going back to his war. But I don't think Scott explained anything well enough. Like, I felt lost. I went in woefully uneducated, undereducated on the Napoleon history, the true history. And I was like, okay, I know this movie's going to be somewhat of a artistic license, and I know it's been getting pushed back for having too much artistic license. But damn, I mean, for having taken artistic license to make stuff more exciting, he didn't. So not only did I not get an education, I wasn't even all that entertained.
Right.
And Napoleon himself was kind of cool. I get like what Joaquin was going for, like this stoic, brooding, you know, kind of a brute. He calls himself a brute at one point. But it wasn't that compelling.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder, I mean, that's maybe part of the point of the movie, I guess, is that Napoleon wasn't some brainiac kind of guy.
No, he was a great military commander.
Right, and strategically. But he was no major leader. He was not going to, win the country over with his quote-unquote intelligence in all facets of, the political realm.
Right.
It was really, he was just a military commander, knew how to win some battles, and then next thing you know, he's one of the more important figures in the world at that point. And I think he was just
the most.
Yeah, and he was just sort of like thrust into this time. I did find it fascinating that the beginning opens up with the beheading of
Marie Antoinette.
Right. We had just watched Sofia Coppola's, I did, Priscilla. And I thought to myself, I should rewatch a Sofia Coppola movie, and I ended up rewatching Marie Antoinette literally maybe 5 days before I watched this. So that was kind of fun, like when you're watching something that ties into everything.
Yeah,
because,
that's cool. It doesn't end with Marie Antoinette's beheading.
No, but more or less. I mean, it more or less ends with you hear the
fall.
Yeah, you hear the people coming into the castle, and you know it's coming. And so I remember that movie ended. You always take those deep dives after a film ends about history or the story. And after I watched Marie Antoinette, I was reading about it and saw that it was that led to Napoleon's chance to then
ascend.
I was like, wow, how interesting. That's how he more or less took over, was right at that moment after her beheading. And I didn't know this. And then 5 days later, I go see Napoleon, and it opens up with the beheading of Marie Antoinette. But
we're talking about the history and not the movie.
Right. We're talking about the history and not the movie. Did the movie add anything to what I had already just read? Back to my point that it didn't. I had just read that, and I went into this movie, and it was like, I just didn't get anything from the 2 hour and 30-minute runtime that I didn't already more or less know about Napoleon. I mean, it was sort of like if you took a 2-paragraph clipping out of Wikipedia and you learned about Napoleon. That's about all as deep as you get here, I thought.
Yeah, very surface level. There's not much to chew on whatsoever. I wanted to know, like I said, I really wanted to learn something. I didn't. Okay, fine. So entertain me. Make it the French Braveheart, which they almost hint at in a couple of moments, like when he really rouses his troops, But they don't even fully commit to that. I don't know what Scott was doing here. He's a great director, and this is a rare misfire from him, especially with this budget and this cast.
Right. He does know how to make epics as far as the battles go. And I thought that was worth the trip to the theater for me. I was like, all right, on the big screen, this does look pretty impressive.
I guess. I'm going to push back on that a little bit. So the big scene, this is in the trailer, we're not spoiling anything, is when the opposing army, I believe it's the British and the either the British and the Russians or the Austrians, I forget, is on the ice, and he fires the cannons to break the ice. I think it's the
Austrians and the Russians.
Okay.
Right.
And they're falling into the ice, and we keep getting the same shot from underwater of people falling into the ice. So it's like almost like a static camera, like Show me something different. He goes back to it 3 or 4 times. And yeah, it was beautiful the first time. It was really cool. And then it's like, okay, you're just dipping your pen in the same inkwell again and again and again.
Right.
Bah.
So what did you think of Joaquin Phoenix's performance as Napoleon?
I would concur with you. Adequate.
Right.
Highly adequate. He's not bad.
No. But didn't add anything where we'd be like talking about this at the end of the year. Like, wow, you got to see Joaquin Phoenix's performance as Napoleon.
Show me some rage. Show me some passion. Show me some anger. He's pretty stoic.
Right. Then you got Vanessa Kirby as Josephine. How'd you think?
I think she was actually probably the highlight of the film.
I agree. Somebody told me there's a mini series about Napoleon and Josephine. Can we throw that in the fish tank?
I think I've watched it. Yeah.
And I was like, well, maybe that would be pretty interesting. I don't know if that's on Netflix or what. Will Phil look that up for us? But like you said, maybe going a little bit deeper into that relationship would have been the way to go.
Maybe, yeah. This left me not caring.
So I think we've already summed this up, but I had a question for you do you think this is going to be any kind of player come award season?
Oh, I thought you were going to say, is there going to be a sequel? Waterloo 2.
No, but do you think this is going to be a player in any facet in the awards?
No.
I don't think so either.
I don't think it's going to get any nominations. I was even like listening to the music to like really intently to see, maybe it gets a music nod. Nah, nothing. Sorry. Hate to say it.
The other interesting thing is that Ridley Scott has said that he has a 4+ hour cut of the film that he's going to release on Apple TV. My question to you, Matt Kay, is what was he holding back? What do you think he's going to cover with another hour and a half, 2 hours of material?
I don't know. It's gonna suck. There's gonna be like extended battle scenes and maybe a little bit of more back and forth of Napoleon and Josephine at the dinner table. It was all kind of boring, if I'm being honest. I mean, well, it was enough to hold my attention. I wasn't like bored,
right?
Checking my watch,
right.
but I wasn't really moved.
I had saw this before Thanksgiving, but this was one of the movies that people at Thanksgiving were asking me, like, Did
you see Napoleon?
Did you see Napoleon? I'm like, I did. How good is it? And I was like, well, I hate to be the bearer of bad news. It's just, I'm not going to say it's terrible. If you go see it, you're not going to be like, I want my money back kind of thing. But do you learn anything? Are you emotionally connected? No, unfortunately.
Yep.
So, was there a jaw-dropping moment here that you do want to highlight?
Yes. In the first battle Napoleon leads, they have to climb this wall and get the British away from some cannons. He charges out with his horse, and immediately his horse gets struck by a cannonball right in the chest. And they show it. The horse like explodes right into the camera. That was pretty graphic, pretty shocking. Wasn't expecting it. Literal jaw-dropping moment.
It was pretty awesome.
How about you?
Yeah. Well, I went with the battle scene on the ice. Really, I would just say the battle scenes were the jaw-dropping moment because I actually think about 30 minutes in, I knew, you can almost tell it's just not gripping you, right?
Yeah.
So about 30 minutes in, I thought, well, at worst case scenario, we at least got some good battle scenes. So really, I would say the battle scenes were the highlight of the movie for me. The one where we do get to see the army retreat and then go onto the ice is pretty cool, and it was very reminiscent of the opening battle scene in Gladiator, where the commanders are in the trees and the fight with the barbarians is going on more like the open field, and then everybody comes running out of the trees. He films it beautifully there, and sometimes they do these wide angles of these battles, and it's like, oh my God, this is like, a huge
It's like Lord
thing.
of the Rings.
Right. It's like, this is really neat. But again, unfortunately, it doesn't have the emotion that a Lord of the Rings battle had for me. So,
yeah, same.
Yeah. Movie poster quote? I went with a mediocre movie on a grand scale.
I went with even Napoleon couldn't lead this film to victory.
I thought you were going to go, was missing Bill and Ted.
Yeah, I was missing Bill and Ted.
How many jaws for Napoleon, Mecca?
It's a solid middle of the road movie.
It really is.
It's just a 2-jaw movie all the way.
I got 2 jaws also. It's so funny that you say that. I thought like a lot of times like, is this 2.5? Is this 1.5? This is just 2 jaws. I knew it right when I came out of the movie. I'm like, this is what a 2-jaw movie is.
2.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Napoleon is playing in theaters. We probably scared a lot of people off that might have been thinking, hey, I was about to spend my money on this movie.
Well, maybe we rescued them.
It's okay. It will play on Apple TV, as I said, in the coming weeks, so you can wait for it there. But if you have seen it, Jawheads, let us know what you thought. Shoot us an email, feedback@cinemajaw.com.
All right, that brings us to Please Don't Destroy, The Treasure of Foggy Mountain. Broad comedies, Ryan, with any sort of buzz are difficult to come by these days. Having been relegated to low-budget Netflix fare, or at best, the new Adam Sandler movie, which perhaps is the same thing after all. It's too bad, but gone are the days of Mel Brooks when the latest slapstick, social commentary, or broad comedy was an event film. Maybe you can blame the pandemic, or Marvel, or Martin Scorsese, but one thing I know for sure, it ain't my fault. I love a good comedy, and the SNL trio Please Don't Destroy have been pumping out YouTube shorts for the past few years that scratch my itch. Lo and behold, they've got themselves a feature entitled The Treasure of Foggy Mountain. Will it soar or fall flat on its face? Ryan and I put on our wingsuits to find out.
What the hell were you doing? You're 3 hours late.
Dad, you don't understand. The car was busted, so we had to shred.
Why are your lips red? Were you eating a snow cone?
That's a really good guess.
What kind of adults rollerblade?
The police are here, and they're saying that you bought alcohol for minors.
Thanks, boys!
In Europe, the drinking age is like 10.
They could have been European.
What made you think they were European?
They had a certain je ne sais quoi.
I think one of them was eating pain au chocolat.
Look, there's really not much to tell you about The Treasure of Foggy Mountain. It stars the Please Don't Destroy guys, Ben Marshall, John Higgins, and Martin Herlihy, and a small supporting role from Conan O'Brien, which is one of the highlights for me. The plot, basic but hilarious. 3 friends discover a key to a treasure as kids. When they start growing apart as adults, the least mature of them rediscovers the key, and they embark on an adventure to find the treasure and save their friendship. The jokes are nonstop. Some, of course, land better than others, but I had several laugh-out-loud moments, and the overall tone is just plain goofy fun. The movie is shot fairly well, and has some surprisingly good special effects shots. But let's face it, we are not talking about a cinematography Oscar here. I say this is a great date movie or Friday night on the couch spin. Not much to chew on, but plenty to laugh with. What was your overall take on Foggy Mountain?
So let me tell you, I did not know of the comedy trio. I don't watch Saturday Night Live. I understand they make video shorts for Saturday Night Live, and they've done YouTube videos, and then it's called Please Don't Destroy.
Right.
This is all news to me.
Really?
I saw
You
the
live under a rock, man.
I saw the preview for this movie, and I was like, what a strange movie to call it Please Don't Destroy, The Treasure of Foggy Mountain. Now I understand the whole thing, that Please Don't
it's like
Destroy
Lonely Island.
is Lonely Island. Right. Great analogy. So now I understand that. Okay. I saw the preview, and I just knew I wanted to watch the movie. Not familiar at all with their YouTube, so I go in completely cold. This is so my kind of humor. I loved it. I laughed at pretty much everything on point. I either was chuckling along or laughing out loud the entire movie. So this is right in my wheelhouse. I'm first time I've seen all 3 of these. I don't even know who these young buckaroos are.
I mean, they're the guys on SNL.
Right. I have no idea. I know that one of them, that Higgins, is the son of the announcer on The Tonight Show.
I didn't even know that.
Yes, that guy is.
Oh, so it's all a bunch of nepotism?
Yeah, that definitely.
God damn it!
Definitely, that guy's dad is the announcer on Jimmy Fallon Tonight Show. Which is the only. Now this is after I've sort of learned about him.
You mean he's Ed McMahon's son?
No, Ed McMahon no longer with us.
Oh yeah.
But the movie also I want to mention is, yes, it's a comedy, but it had just enough adventure feeling.
Just enough.
Just enough. They were so smart. It made it like, okay, I do want to find out what's going on with this treasure. And if you're going to make a kind of like a odd comedy like this, just give us enough to keep us going with the plot line. And boy, did they nail that. I thought this was a winner all the way around. These are the movies I'd like to see the streaming service concentrate on. These kind of like smaller comedies like this. Totally fine. This was great.
And you know what? I think it goes some different directions toward the end that you don't see coming. And I think some of the endings, because I think there's like multiple endings, they do like chapter breaks, are all really satisfying. They're like, somewhat like fantasy fulfillment. You know, I just really enjoyed this film. It was fun to watch.
I love early on in the film when there's all these like clues, like they keep saying something for him to like realize that he has the like key to the map. And it's just so funny how it like takes a while to like knock somebody over the head. I was thinking of you, like you'd almost have to hit Matt over the head with a hammer 10 times until finally he'd be like, wait a minute, we have the compass to the treasure. I love that bit. That was fantastic.
It was. Was there a favorite joke you had or a favorite bit besides that?
I mean, the whole thing. I mean,
it's tough to nail down just one.
It really is. And I mean, a lot of it, don't want to steer jawheads into thinking this is like a, comedy classic, like a Superbad. But
it's definitely not.
You're going to chuckle at least throughout the whole entire thing.
I don't think it's meant to be as heartfelt or as Superbad. This is a goofy, broad comedy.
Exactly. But I mean, and some of the humor is odd. So it's like, it might not work for everybody, but it's in my wheelhouse. So I was loving it.
There's a reoccurring joke with one of the characters' dicks being out, which is definitely my favorite part of the movie.
Nice.
I mean, my favorite joke, let's say. Yeah. Not my favorite part of the movie, although it was a great part.
It was good stuff.
No pun intended. All right. How about a jaw-dropping moment?
So we got to talk about it. You said a highlight for you. My jaw-dropping moment is Conan O'Brien in this movie.
Yeah.
As an actor. And the first time we see him is hysterical because it was a hard cut to him and he's yelling. He plays the father of one of the kids and he's also the owner of the shop that they all work at. And
Trout Plus.
Yeah, Trout Plus. What a name.
It's like what's that Bass store called?
Yeah, Bass Pro Shop.
Bass Pro Shop, right.
It's so great. So they're at work at one of those stores, and the first time they mention the dad, there's this hard cut, and it's Conan O'Brien, and he's screaming at the top of his lungs. He's always yelling in the movie. And there's just something so funny about seeing Conan O'Brien, not necessarily Conan, but it's not like he's really acting. It's just enough where it's like he's playing a character.
Well, he's acting in a comedy movie.
Right.
So he was playing a character.
I know, but I'm saying it's not much of a stretch. He's more or less playing himself.
No, this is not a challenging role.
Oh, did I laugh? And I thought seeing Conan, I'd like to see him do more of this kind of like oddball stuff.
Me too. It was great to see Conan.
It was.
Poor guy. He got shafted in the late night shuffle. Did you got a poster quote?
Well, what was your jaw-dropping moment?
I'm sorry. It was the dick out. So there's a scene where he's flying in a wingsuit, and they cut to. I don't want to explain too much. It's just really funny.
Yeah, I mean the wingsuits in general were quite hilarious.
Yeah, they come up a few times.
Yeah, there's 2 times, and I mean
more than 2 times.
Yeah, true, but it definitely
culminates
with the suits, and I think we knew it was going there.
Sure.
And totally fine that I knew it was going there because it was still a joy when it came on.
Right.
You know what I mean?
You don't show a gun and not fire it. They fire every gun they show.
They do.
And sometimes twice.
As for a movie poster quote, I went with, "Please do enjoy Foggy Mountain. It's a treasure of a comedy."
Nice. I went similar. I said, take your peacock out and find this treasure.
That's the good thing, Jawheads. It's streaming right now on Peacock. I'm almost upset it didn't get a small theatrical run.
Does that disqualify it from like any kind of there's no comedy award anyway.
No, anyways, yeah. So I'm not worried about that, but I think it could have, I mean, with Five Nights at Freddy's, they released it in theaters and on Peacock at the same time. I think they could have did that a little bit for this movie.
I think so too. Yeah, definitely. It's probably really tough for them to know, but this has got to be a win for Peacock because all the fans of Please Don't Destroy are going to go and subscribe just for this movie.
Right.
You know, I mean, I would have just to watch this movie.
I'll say this. Again, I didn't know this comedy trio before, and now I'm a fan of these guys all of a sudden just from this movie. I'm like, okay, I'll go check out their videos.
They're good.
So as for a jaw rating, I gave this a solid 3 jaws.
Nice. 3 jaws. I am also going, well, I didn't give it 3. I went 2.5.
Oh my God.
I don't know. Is that, you know, I thought, let's be honest here, Matt. Is this a 3-jaw movie? I don't know if it's a 3-jaw movie.
I think so. And I want to say to Jawheads, I was enjoying this with a few cold ones.
That could be why.
Right? So what was great is I love when there's a movie streaming that I haven't seen yet. I was like, oh, okay, I'll check this one out. Had a few adult beverages, watched the movie, enjoyed myself immensely. And I was like, yeah, this is perfect. 3 jaws, hands down.
I'm giving it a high. You know what? I'll bump it up. I'll say 2.75.
Ah, thank the Lord. I mean, thank the Foggy Mountains.
Yeah.
For an extra quarter jaw from Matt Cave.
It's not a 3-jaw movie, if we're being honest.
Yeah, I'm being honest. It is a 3-jaw movie.
All right. Agree to disagree, but I liked it a lot.
Again, it's playing on Peacock Jawheads, so if you have the service, go ahead and
give it a
stream
spin. Yeah.
And check out, anyways, it might all be done, Jawheads, but Black Friday is the Friday after Thanksgiving. These streaming services.
Never heard of that.
These streaming services, all of them were doing huge deals. You could get HBO for $2.99 a month.
But not for a whole year.
I think for 6 months. I got Hulu because I didn't have Hulu. I canceled it months
Ages ago, yeah.
And then got an email that you could get Hulu for $12 for an entire year.
They figured out
year.
They figured out how to screw us even worse than cable now. This sucks. I mean, I have Paramount Plus just for one show.
I still
terrible.
don't have Paramount Plus.
I mean, I got it for Survivor. man.
There's too many of these damn streaming
There
services.
is.
I will say that. But I was going to say Peacock, I know, is running a deal. Also, these might be done. But look, end of the year, they do run some deals. So
sometimes those Black Friday deals go all the way through December.
Right.
Yeah.
So do check that out, Jawheads. We are going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we got 2 more reviews. May, December, which I can't wait to talk about.
I can't wait to talk about it.
And plus Saltburn, one of the more talked about movies. I guess it's controversial. Would you say that? Maybe.
We'll get to it.
We will get to that as well. Stick with us, Jawheads.
Let's all go to the lobby.
It's Emma Stone month here on Cinemajaw, and the first clip we're treating you to is from the Academy Award-winning Birdman. In this clip, she gives a wonderful monologue to her dad, played by Michael Keaton, on is he still relevant? Enjoy.
This is my chance to finally do some work that actually means something.
It means something to who? You had a career, Dad, before the 3rd comic book movie. Before people started to forget who was inside that bird costume. You were doing a play based on a book that was written 60 years ago for 1,000 rich old white people whose only real concern is going to be where they go to have their cake and coffee when it's over. Nobody gives a shit but you. And let's face it, Dad, you are not doing this for the sake of art. You are doing this because you want to feel relevant again. Well, guess what? There is an entire world out there where people fight to be relevant every single day, and you act like it doesn't exist. Things are happening in a place that you ignore, a place that, by the way, has already forgotten about you. I mean, who the fuck are you? You hate bloggers, you mock Twitter, you don't even have a Facebook page. You're the one who doesn't exist. You're doing this because you're scared to death, like the rest of us, that you don't matter. And you know what? You're right. You don't. It's not important, okay? You're not important. Get used to it.
Hey, Jawheads, we started a companion podcast to Cinemajaw called Cinemajaw Presents The Movie Roundup, where we catch all the stragglers, the movies that tried to get away. We round them up, put them in a pen, and execute them one by one, or at least give them a review. It's hosted by me and Ryan, and it's exclusive to our patrons on Patreon. So if you want to listen to that, and I believe you should, go over to patreon.com/Cinemajaw. Join us. Any level unlocks the movie roundup, and I hope you guys enjoy it.
Sparkling drinks, it all colored dandy, 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 dandy.
And we are back here on Cinemajaw. We're hanging out, talking Review-O-Rama, 4 movies, and I think we threw at least one thing into the fish tank, Ryan. What do you say? Should we open it up? Let's open up that fish tank.
Wait a moment! It's fish! Isn't it?
DC! Wake up! Wake up! No, Pat, it's a giant glass bowl. Hey, get some fish folk.
Who's coming with me besides Flipper? Here.
That's a Sicilian message. It means Luca Brasi sleeps with the fishes.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Hello, thank you all so much. It's so good to be out right now. We're having a blast. It's our first Cinemajaw in over 2 weeks.
Your
We're
hot dog
celebrating.
red.
Yes, absolutely. I was about to get there because we have, at this point, 6 open cans of red beer. Hot dog red. I'm a little disappointed in you guys. We didn't even like do our jokey callback to Ryan dressing up as Napoleon, which I think that was one of our best bits this year. That was one of our best bits this year.
It was not only a best bit. I actually put the challenge to Rye to go to the theater dressed as Napoleon.
I know, but I didn't go to the press screening. I couldn't get to the press screening. I would have done it if we were joking about going into the press screening. I would have wore that hat.
Dude, it's not too late. You could do it at our awards.
I ended up just going and seeing Napoleon with the paying customers.
Would you do it at our awards?
I don't know if the joke would go over as well.
Oh, are you kidding? Come on.
These are people who know you and know your height and your Napoleon complex, which is totally real, and I'm not making it up right now.
Get a load of this, though. Last night, another movie that came out, and I've already seen, it's called The Iron Claw with Zac Efron.
Oh, yeah. I saw the ad for it.
It's about the Van Erich family of wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's this big wrestling movie. I come into the theater, there's people standing, it's just a critic screening. So it's just, Don and, the people that we know.
The usual suspects.
The usual suspects. I come in, I start dropping elbows on everybody as a joke. Elbow, and then I clothesline somebody else. Turns out, who was in the theater watching?
Jake the Snake Roberts.
No, CM Punk.
Really?
CM Punk was in the audience watching the movie. And I did not realize that until after the movie.
He must have thought you were such an idiot.
That's what I thought. I thought, this guy must think I'm an absolute jackass. But I did not realize he was sitting in the theater until a fellow critic posted a picture of him. And I was like, oh, I saw that guy all in white. I didn't even recognize him in the theater. I didn't. It wasn't until after.
He's had a bunch of different looks. If you catch his tattoos, maybe you recognize him.
Yeah. I that's what I said. I would need someone to tell me, hey, that's CM Punk. I do know who he is, and
Yeah, I got his action figure.
Right.
Yeah.
He was almost on Cinemajaw.
He was. We were kind of in his orbit for a bit there.
Almost had him there, and
he's a busy guy.
He is a busy guy. Maybe one day.
Hey, we totally hijacked the fish tank. Sorry.
It's okay. I'm just sitting here thinking, and if you're dressed as Napoleon to that Van Erich's family movie, what a different world we would live in. This would not be a solo Review-O-Rama. We would have CM Punk's inside on the Napoleon film.
It's true.
Good stuff.
That's a perfect, a short segue into our one Napoleon question. What's the miniseries about Napoleon and Josephine? And okay, so this is like a weird name. Are you guys ready? Can you believe they had the nerve to call this miniseries Napoleon?
I didn't know where Phil was going with that. I'm like, what?
I actually thought it was going to be called Napoleon and Josephine.
I think technically, because there's it's not called a tilde in French, but Napoleon. I don't know, but it was bold.
Napoleon.
Really, really courageous of them to come out the gates with that. It's from 2002. It was a joint international production between GMT France, Trans Films in Canada, A&E from the United States, and Spice Factory in the UK. It was
Is that where the Spice Girls come from too?
No, I as always did some extra research onto the things that were interesting to me and me alone. And Spice Factory, for having a kick-ass name, their filmography is garbage. It is not good. It's all
That's
historical. It's all historical dramas, but not the good historical dramas, like The Last of the Mohicans, kind of like you would watch this in school and be bored and sleep during social studies.
Yeah.
So disappointing with a name like Spice Factory. Also, it was the most expensive European miniseries ever produced, so that's got to be worth something. And we have GMT in France and the Spice Factory to thank for that. I did also look it up while I was at it. Sadly, it is not officially streaming anywhere. However, as always, you can count on me to do as much crack research or crackpot research, whatever you want to call it, as possible. And you can find bootlegs of the first 4 episodes on YouTube. I don't want to get a copyright claim against the absolute legend sharing CSGO videos alongside bootlegs of Napoleon. So email us. Email us, Jawheads, if you want the details on this sick, spicy Napoleon miniseries.
Do it.
Yes. While we're in the fish tank, 2 things. One, we heard from a new Jawhead. His name was Aaron, and you had about 5 digits after your name on the handle. It was like Aaron 56 something. I don't know what it was. And he asked a question, what's the difference between the fish tank and the jaw box?
Wow. We do. Okay. Should I tell the story?
You explain it very quickly, Matt.
Okay. Way back in the day, our producer was Elias, right? Did it start with Elias?
Elias, sure.
Elias.
But I do want to state, he said sometimes you say jaw box, sometimes you say fish tank. That's what he was talking about because we do screw it up sometimes. So explain that.
For years, we had this box that we lugged around our equipment in, and we called it the jaw box. And we one day said, wouldn't it be funny if Elias was popping out of the jaw box to give... So it became a thing, like an imaginary space where we kept Elias and tortured him between... We would basically pack him away between episodes. And it carried over to Phil. We called it the fish tank because when we were recording at Cards, we actually had a proper radio studio booth with glass, and it was like the fish tank. So that's... And plus the alliteration, it works better with Phil. Mm-hmm. So there you go. We sometimes mix it up because Jawbox was like 4 or 5 years worth.
Right. But sometimes we slip up and we still say jaw box.
Sure, especially after a few Victorias.
Absolutely.
And I'm talking about beer.
Right.
Yeah.
Beer.
Yes.
Please. And also while we're in the fish tank, next week, I think maybe another Review-O-Rama. We'll see. A lot of movies.
Jesus,
a lot
man.
of movies right now.
I'm going to vote no on the Review-O-Rama.
A lot of films going on.
Unless they're all screeners.
We have to talk about Dream Scenario.
Yes, we do.
That is sitting on our tables at home. We got that screener. Try to get to Poor Things.
We got the neon stuff.
We got a lot of neon
A24
movies.
sent us some stuff.
Yeah, so expect more reviews is what I'm saying next week. And then pretty much after that, you can expect a lot of our end of the year lists.
Wrap-ups, yep.
So, all right. I think that's everything.
I believe so.
Jump back in that fish tank.
You bet.
You know, we should just throw a jaw box into the fish tank. Then it's like, kind of a catch-all.
We've got enough of them in here. I actually have a jaw box made. Every time you guys misrepresent the fish tank, a jaw box manifests in here, and we're overcrowded. There's plenty.
That's what all that is. Mm-hmm, now it makes sense.
And like on the opposite side of that token, there's fish tanks in every one of these jaw box for the times we do it right. It's messy in here. Please, I have enough on my plate. Can you guys chill out?
All right. Now jump back in that fish tank.
Will do.
How do you choose your roles? I want to find a character that's difficult to, on the surface, understand. Were they born or were they made? It's such a pleasure to meet you.
You are so sweet. We're so happy to have you.
Thank you for doing this. It's so generous.
Well, I want you to tell the story right, don't I? We're taller. You look taller on television, but we're basically the same size.
Well, basically the same.
Feels like things just settled down, and now y'all are making a movie.
It's a very complex and human story.
I think it's hard to trust that you're going to represent Gracie as she was.
I'm going to try.
That clip is from the new Netflix movie, May December. Look, I am a massive fan of Natalie Portman. I'm a massive fan of Julianne Moore. I like the films of Todd Haynes, especially his film Carol. So I walked into May December with high hopes. The film is loosely based on true events, and these events will ring some bells with older listeners. In 1996, a Seattle school teacher named Mary Kay was sentenced to more than 7 years in prison for child rape after she began sexually abusing her 6th grade student. Things get crazier as she ended up marrying him and having a family with him. To my knowledge, they're still together to this day. The movie's plot takes place in modern day with Natalie Portman playing an actress who is about to play the teacher named Gracie in the movie. And to prepare for the role, she goes to meet the actual teacher or person played by Julianne Moore. She stays with the family, asking questions and observing. Now, Charles Melton of Riverdale fame plays Joe, the now 30-year-old boy who was the 6th grader who knocked up his teacher. He is simply outstanding here. So knowing what the film is about going in, I suspected I was walking into a serious drama, and that's where I think I made my mistake. I watch hundreds of movies a year, and very seldom If ever am I confused on the tone or the vibe of a movie I'm watching, let's just say my movie instincts have been well developed. May December stumped me. I could not get on the same page as the movie. In my press screening, which only had about 20 critics in it, there was one person laughing his head off the entire movie at everything, like he was watching a screwball comedy. I did laugh at times, but was not sure what to make of most of it. Todd Haynes throws in overdramatic score, which I loved. I think that was cluing us that this was meant to be campy. I have not had time to revisit this, but I do plan to because on my Letterboxd, my fellow critics that I follow all adore this film, but I'm still scratching my head. So I turn to you, Matt, with all your wisdom. Maybe you can help me with this dilemma. What did you think of May December?
First of all, it needs to be noted that she is not a teacher in the film. The illicit affair takes place at a pet shop where they both work.
Right, but the movie is based on this story that took place.
It is, but you alluded to Julianne Moore's character being a teacher.
Sorry, yes, but I'm just saying that's the case that it was based on.
Sure. Okay, we agree on that.
Okay.
And also it was 7th grade, not 6th grade.
Oh, wow, jeez, slap me with a ruler.
Yeah. Now, there are some hints early on in the film, like at the barbecue where Joe is out back cooking, and his like friend who's way older than him because he's a fellow dad is talking about how he's seen Natalie Portman's character, and he's like, I've seen her sex scenes, and like I just Googled her naked.
So I did like that. That was funny. Yeah.
But even that being a clue, I was like, okay, that's just a beat of comedic release or like comedic relief. And then the rest of the movie is meant to be taken seriously. I'm not sure, Ryan. Even after watching it, I'm not 100% sure they were going for camp. I think this is an accidentally campy movie like The Room. This is a bad movie.
I don't think so. See, this is where I think we don't want to say the wrong thing, because I think
I'm going to say what I think.
Okay, you go ahead and say what you think. But I know Todd Haynes. I've seen his other work. Like I said, I adored Carol. The guy's a very accomplished filmmaker. And I think that over-the-top dramatic score...
So you're saying this is a satire?
Was supposed to be a satire. But I did not think that going in. So that's why I thought I was confused. I thought I was going in to watch a serious take on this, tragic thing that happened in the past, and now we're getting this update on the story. That's what I was under the impression.
Don't get me wrong.
So I was never on the same page.
I don't think that this is supposed to be like a straight drama. There's obviously like Natalie Portman's character is so over the top, especially at the end where she's like, swooning in the scene. She's like, hang on, I need one more take, I get it. Like they were going for somebody who's like just a complete asshole. I don't know. And here's another thing. Just a quick question. Julianne Moore's speech impediment, was that there the whole time? Because I only noticed it about 2/3 of the way through the movie. And then it became a thing for the rest of the movie.
I'm not sure myself.
Right?
Yeah.
Like all of a sudden it turned on a dime, like in that bathroom scene. Like, I'm like, wait, I actually had to rewind it. Is she suddenly lisping? Because she's talking about something kind of serious in that scene.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, what does it mean that all of a sudden she's got this lisp? Is that like some sort of childhood trauma coming through? And then like, no, she just always had a lisp. Like, no, she didn't. Am I wrong?
I didn't think so either. Not that I noticed.
That would have been seriously distracting. And I feel like I would have noticed that from the very beginning. And it just becomes more and more pronounced. And when Natalie Portman starts acting as the character, she's basically like caricature.
Right.
With a very pronounced lisp.
So that's why I think it's supposed to be somewhat of a campy comedy.
Maybe.
But
it's weird.
It is a very strange movie.
Super cringy and uncomfortable.
And that's I think what they were going for, 100%. I honestly, I do think it's very tricky to make that kind of a movie. It seems almost impossible. Those movies usually are a result of something going wrong. But
it's about exploitation.
But I do think in this case, that's exactly what they were going for, was that kind of cringy, campy, this is not going right movie. And they actually set out to make that. Even some of the small reviews, I read some of the headlines, like I said, on my Letterboxd. I'll just see like these quick one-line reviews, and people just are adoring this movie, and everybody's talking about it as like a 5-star movie on Letterboxd.
No.
The New York Film Critics Circle, which is the first, they're way ahead of the ball game. They're in November. They're already giving out the awards for the year. And this Charles Melton won for Best Supporting Actor. And everybody's saying he's going to be a player throughout. I'm like, man, did I miss something here? Because
you didn't, Ryan. This is a case of where all the critics get their heads up their own ass way too far. Way too far. Oh, so-and-so liked it? Well, maybe there's something I'm missing here. No, it's the emperor wearing no clothes and everybody telling him that he looks fantastic. This movie, is there value in it? Yeah. There's 2 great performances from 2 of the best commanding screen presence of all time, and they both happen to be female, and that's great too. But it's very exploitative. I think that part at least is on purpose because it's about exploitation. There's a scene which happens to be my jaw-dropping moment where Natalie Portman, who's in town observing this family who got together in very unusual circumstances, illegally, at least at first, she goes to the high school, which is ridiculous on its face. She's a Juilliard taught actress. Great resource. While she's in town, she decides to donate some of her time.
Right. Okay, go over this scene. I'm so glad you picked this.
This scene is messed up. I actually watched it twice. This is the best thing about having a screener. Like, if something really sticks in your craw, you can go back and watch it a second time. And I did. I watched this scene twice. She gets asked by a student, jokingly, as a high school student would ask, "Do you do any sex scenes?" And then she gives a very honest answer with way too many details, which is a send-up to exploitation of women in film throughout the years. Mm-hmm. And I think that she explains that really well. And in that sense, the movie was working for me, but it's also kind of weird and slow and boring in parts.
So just hearing your explanation.
That was my jaw-dropping moment.
Okay, but that almost helps me somewhat maybe understand what they were going for, in the sense that this was making a commentary on how we exploit stories of what this is based on.
Right. But in doing so, it's almost like a Todd Solondz film, right? Like The Dollhouse or Happiness, you know?
Okay, yeah.
We're supposed to be like really, really uncomfortable.
Right. And I think he probably succeeded then, if that's what they were going for.
Yeah, that is what they were going for.
Okay. So again, that's why I want to rewatch it now. I went in thinking this was going to be a straight up like, oh man, there's a drama on this tragic story of this, teacher and the kid and, what's going on. Now I want to go back and see if I'm going to have that reaction that everybody else is having. But a lot of people are loving this movie.
They're full of shit. I think this is a dramedy. It's got some interesting things to say about exploitation. But at the end of the day, the movie itself is exploitative because it's, those people that are living this in real life now suddenly have that all dug up again.
Sure. So my jaw-dropping moment is when Natalie Portman is alone with Joe in the pet shop, and she takes things too far as we're her research, if you will.
Sure.
That scene was also like, oh my God, now this is getting into the point of like, it's crossed the line,
Yeah, that was interesting.
Man, what a weird movie.
Super weird movie.
You watched it just by yourself, I take it. You're watching in just a screener.
Yeah.
Right. Again, watching this I think if I would have watched it with a theater full of people, it would have helped me gauge and know what's going on. If you're talking, 200 people in a theater. In the setting that I was in with like 20 people, and I think only 2 or 3 people got it in the theater, it just made it for such a weird viewing experience. I mean, there's nothing odder than watching a movie and I'm watching it like, oh my God, that's so sad. And 2 seats down, the guy's laughing his head off like, this is great.
Yeah, like Max Cady in Cape Fear.
Like, what is going on? It's bizarro.
Was he smoking a cigar?
It's bizarro world. How about a movie poster quote here, Matt?
Get ready to cringe.
Ooh. I went with, not sure. but the performances are good. I do want to say, all three of the performances were outstanding. Natalie Portman's great here, Julianne Moore, and yeah, this kid from Riverdale.
He was great.
I don't even know this guy. Are you familiar with him at all? Or
not at
me
all.
neither. So hats off to him. He's knocking it out of the park. So
he had some of the most actual, like, heartfelt human scenes.
100%. Yeah, especially at the end, he has that scene where he's on the roof of the house with
his kid.
With his kid.
But then again, the scene in the bedroom where he wakes up Julianne Moore and he's trying to communicate something to her.
Right.
Very powerful stuff.
Yeah. I'm going to watch it again before I even get into the voting stuff and end of the year stuff, just in case, because like I said, I think I just missed the boat on this one, to be honest. How many Jaws, Matt K?
I'd say if you have to watch a movie twice just to get it, it's probably not something we need to watch again.
I don't know.
I'm going middle of the road on this. 2 Jaws. 2 and only 2.
Okay, I went, I wrote down somewhere between 2 and 3.5. I'll get back to you. I got to see it a second time.
You shouldn't have to.
Like I said, I normally never have to, but in this case, if I
You thinking this is a Wes Anderson?
If I felt that I was watching something and it just wasn't working, I know that. In this case, like I said, I felt like I was in the wrong. Like I just couldn't get. That's why I
couldn't click it.
Yeah, couldn't click. So
all right,
I'm gonna watch it a second time.
Okay, go ahead and watch it a second time. Let us know.
Here's the good thing, Jawheads. Now I know we said we had screeners, but now it's on Netflix. So go ahead and stream it. Let us know what you think. Shoot us a tweet at Cinemajaw or email feedback@cinemajaw.com.
That brings us to Saltburn, Ryan.
Our last review of the show, Matt K.
Indeed. Actor turned director, writer, producer Emerald Fennell, perhaps best known outside of the UK for her film Promising Young Woman, which won the Best Original Screenplay Oscar, brings us her sophomore feature, Saltburn. Saltburn is a lavish and lurid tale of haves and have-nots, set in the aughts, dripping with style, and perfectly cast. But is it all vapid style over substance abuse? Ryan and I drank the bathwater to find out.
Did you know there was a college Christmas party tonight? NFI, me and you, not fucking invited.
You all right?
Yeah, I've got a flat tire.
Take my bike.
Hey, that is so kind. Thank you. I'm sorry I don't know your name. I'm Felix.
Oliver.
Oliver. Oliver, I love you. I love you. All right, cheers, Ollie.
My parents, they've got problems.
What kind of? What do you mean problems?
I don't think I'll ever go home again.
Well, why don't you come home with me? Come to Saltburn.
Hey, minor spoiler alert ahead. You've been warned. The first thing on any seasoned moviegoer's mind after watching Saltburn will probably be the talented Mr. Ripley. That's the spoiler alert. And it's a very fair comparison. Frankly, I prefer Mr. Ripley. But that being said, there is a lot to chew on with Saltburn. Here's the basic plot, right? In 2006, scholarship student Oliver Quick, played by Barry Cogan, begins attending Oxford University. Initially rejected by his fellow students for his perceived poverty, Oliver eventually strikes up a friendship with Felix Catton, played by Jacob Elordi of Euphoria fame, who also played Elvis in Priscilla, a wealthy and popular student who is empathetic to Oliver's stories of his parents' substance abuse and mental health problems. Oliver's increasingly obsessive behavior toward Felix eventually alienates him, but after learning about the sudden death of Oliver's father, Felix invites him to spend the summer at his family's sprawling estate, Saltburn, and wackiness ensues. Soon, Oliver is seducing the family, both literally and figuratively, winning over the parents, brilliantly played by Rosamund Pike and Richard E. Grant, and generally ensnaring himself in the intricate web of Saltburn. The movie looks great. It just looks beautiful, and I doubt there will be any arguments on that. But where it falls down is the predictable plot. You will see the ending from a mile away. This is not The Sixth Sense, and I got the sense that they think it is. Also rather annoying are some dangling threads, like the staff, the butler in particular. I have to imagine that his story was left on the cutting room floor. There's definitely more to that. There are a few OMG moments, such as the aforementioned bathwater, but at the end of the day, this film isn't nearly as shocking as it thinks it is. Take away the slick look and the talented cast, and the story by itself is pretty banal. This was an enjoyable romp, but little rewatch value in Saltburn. Ryan, what was your initial take on this one?
Yeah, I mean, I loved Emerald Fennell's Promising Young Woman, and it was a surprise to me when I saw that movie. And so I was excited to see what she was going to do next, so I was highly anticipating Saltburn. A lot of hype around this movie, but I was able to put that aside and start to enjoy it as an erotic romp.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
But I think when the movie started, I was expecting something a little bit more. And as it started to go on, as you're saying, it's predictable. It is.
Very.
And I thought to myself, okay, that's fine that I know where this is going. Let's have a little bit of fun with this. And then I was actually able to enjoy Saltburn even more than I was in the opening moments. That Barry Kogan, excellent. He's fantastic.
He's always great.
He's literally incredible, this guy. I am such a huge fan. He's in a movie. I'm excited to see it.
Same.
And this Jacob Elordi, who I just saw in Priscilla, new to me.
Growing on me
right away. So I was like, okay, this is good. It did feel like a complete sibling, or lesser of a sibling is not even a right way to say it, to the talented Mr. Ripley. I would take Ripley as well.
It's got a little bit of Cruel Intentions thrown in.
A little bit.
Yeah.
But it's highly, highly much
derivative
of talented Mr. Ripley. And unfortunately, people who are fans of that, and me and Matt have talked about, we're both huge fans of talented Mr. Ripley. Yeah, I remember you telling the story of it always in your DVD player. You would watch the movie.
That was Heather, but...
Okay, but you've seen it several times.
Oh, yeah, and I didn't complain. I like it.
Yeah, and I watched it several times. This is a movie, talented Mr. Ripley, I've seen... at least 15 times. I've seen it many times. So I'm like, oh, well, this is like exactly like talented Mr. Ripley, even to the point where he's lying about, who he is, like his backstory. It's
right.
Like, oh,
so that's a major spoiler, by the way.
Yeah. I'm like, what the heck? Well,
it's okay, because this movie thinks it's way more clever and way more shocking than it is. Is it fun? I had fun with it.
So that's where I think you have to be. Sometimes as critics, like we think like, well, it's just like this. Take that out of it and just look at the movie and say, was this a fun watch? And I think from that perspective, it really is. I mean, all right, it is like the talented Mr. Ripley, but whatever. For a lot of people that haven't seen the talented Mr. Ripley, they're going to have a blast with Saltburn.
Can we talk about Barry Kogan's penis?
It's all over the screen.
Yes, it is. It is literally all over the screen. They make a joke in the movie. There's a plot twist. Good for Oliver. They're alluding to the fact that he's well endowed, right?
Right.
Okay. Then at the end of the movie,
that was a hilarious line too.
I don't want to. I'm not spoiling anything. I'm just saying toward the end of the picture, we do get some full frontal of Barry Kogan.
Right.
He's not that well.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
After they made that joke, I was expecting
something.
Marky Mark in Boogie Nights when he whips it out and he says, "I'm a star. I'm a big star," and you're like, "Yeah, you are a big star,"
Yeah. That wasn't really Marky Mark, by the way.
No, I know it was a prosthetic. I know, but that's what you're expecting because they've made this joke, and
yeah, not so much.
Maybe there was shrinkage though, Matt.
Hey, it could have been a cold day, Ryan.
But he was dancing around.
This is a nitpick for sure.
There's a lot of skin in this movie, let's be honest, and it's supposed to be kind of erotic and,
Is there a lot of skin? I'm trying to think. There's really not, dude.
Yeah, I think so.
There's some steamy moments, but we don't actually see too many characters naked.
Well, I don't want to get to jaw-dropping moment yet because I know you have a couple other points to get into.
So that was my question. Do you agree that this isn't as shocking as it thinks it is or pretends to be?
Yes. And in fact, I mean, I think the ending, part of the problem is the ending, and I'm not going to spoil it, really feels like it's celebrating itself.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Good way to say it. And I was like...
not earned.
Exactly. I was like, come on, guys. I mean, this isn't that great.
No.
I mean, you guys are trying to pull one over on me. It's not working.
No.
But so be it.
Can we talk about Richard E. Grant?
I saw this in the notes that you had this down. So I watch
Sorry, my Barry Kogan's penis threw you off there.
Yeah, but I watch movies a lot of times with a small notebook to make notes to myself to talk about. One of the notes I made about halfway through the movie is waste of Richard E. Grant. Literally wrote that down. However,
the scenes that he is in,
And he does
great.
come up very big at the end. I mean, he has at least, they gave him a little bit more screen time near the end of the movie. Prior to that, about halfway through, I was like, my God, you're going to get Richard E. Grant and you're going to put him in, one line of dialogue here at the dinner table. It's disgraceful. But he came around and it was great. I thought the parents were wonderful.
The lunch scene.
Yes.
Oh, that was the best part of the movie.
It was great. And I thought the setting of Saltburn, which, like you said, it's beautifully shot. It's a really nice, grounds of this estate that they live on. That was really nice. It reminded me a little bit of, obviously we're talking about the talented Mr. Ripley a lot, but also Call Me By Your Name, which was...
I haven't seen that.
Which was set in like Italy. And there was just something about like this idea of like, oh, when people are, at their estate, they're relaxing. It's the family. It had that vibe also. So it was enjoyable.
Yeah. This is a triumph for bisexual cinema, And how often do you get to say that?
True.
All right, Ryan, let's talk about our jaw-dropping moments here.
So there's definitely two. There's two. And here's the deal. We call it jaw-dropping moments because it's Cinemajaw. So we're using it as a pun. However, this actually has two jaw-dropping moments where you're stunned by the scene. You mentioned one of them, and I think that's yours.
That's mine.
I'm going to go with the other one, and it is a gravesite scene, and there's nudity at a gravesite scene.
Oh, that's not the one I was thinking of.
No. Oh, I went gravesite scene and nudity, and when I say jaw-dropping moment, I mean it, Jawheads. I was aghast by the scene. I'm like, what is going on here? This is freaking awesome.
That was weird.
Really weird, but I loved it. I was like, wow, they went there with this? I can't believe what I was seeing,
By the way, that just goes back to the whole, this movie doesn't really make sense. Like, if you think about it in the context of what is revealed at the end and you go back and look at the clues, it does not all add up. It doesn't. But my jaw-dropping moment is the bathwater. I was like, oh, they went for that, huh?
Right.
Wow. Gross.
So sick.
Disgusting.
So sick. I mean, and I'm not even talking about like, I don't want to spoil it because
don't spoil it.
I don't want to spoil it, but off air, I got to tell you, like, I wouldn't even go just, we'll leave it. The whole thing's gross to me. The whole entire thing was disgusting.
To just sample the bathwater would be bad enough.
That's what I was about to say to you.
Right. But to get in there and really get down and dirty with the drain, I mean.
Right. If you told me Phil's going to go into the bath and then I got to drink their bath water, I'm not drinking bath water.
No, I'm not drinking anyone's bath water for sure. Rude. Sorry, Phil.
Yeah. Good stuff, though.
Ugh.
Definitely jaw-dropping.
Yeah, that's gross, but fun. A lot of fun. All right, Ryan, how about a movie poster quote?
I went with sexy, silly, devious. Those three words right on the top of the poster.
You're giving it way too much credit. I went with rewatch the talented Mr. Ripley instead. A little to-do for myself there.
Sure. You're more of a Jude Law fan than you are Jacob Elordi.
Yeah. Or maybe just a good movie fan.
Aren't they more or less the same character here? We got somebody absolutely in love with Jacob Elordi, and think about the first time we saw Jude Law. I remember thinking like, oh my God, who
guy's
the hell
so
is
handsome?
Like, who is this guy?
Right. Not so much anymore.
No, but at that
he
time.
He did not age well.
How many
Sorry,
Jaws?
Jude.
How many Jaws?
2.
2.5 for me. I went 2.5.
That's fair. I went with 2. It was just a little disappointing.
2.5 Jaws for Rye the Movie Guy, 2 Jaws for Matt K for Saltburn. This one is playing exclusively in theaters, Jawheads. Check this one out and let us know what you think. Also,
was that all 4?
That was all 4.
Holy crap.
That's a lot of movies, man.
And they were mostly 2 Jaw movies,
I really liked Foggy Mountain. I was 3 Jaws on that one, so.
I'm glad.
Yeah.
I think I went 2 3/4 there.
All right. Let's end this podcast with some trivia.
I flipped my phone over, Ryan, so
I noticed.
I can't look at the screen.
What an absolute professional. In honor of Napoleon, played by Joaquin Phoenix. Joaquin Phoenix co-stars with an S. Movie trivia. Are you ready, Matt K?
I'm ready.
You need 3 or more right not to be stumped. Question 1. Name one other person that starred in Walk the Line. besides Joaquin?
Reese Witherspoon.
I gave you an easy one.
Okay, that's usually how it goes.
Would have also accepted Robert Patrick, played his dad. Question 2. Name 2 others besides Joaquin Phoenix that starred in the movie Signs.
Mel Gibson.
1.
And Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Wait, he's the little brother.
Joaquin Phoenix is the brother.
He's the older brother.
So you got Mel Gibson.
Uh-huh.
Then you got Joaquin Phoenix.
Uh-huh.
And then you have Rory Culkin.
Okay. Wait. M. Night Shyamalan.
You already guessed, but M. Night Shyamalan was correct, but we're buzzing you on that one.
God damn it.
Question 3. Name 2 other people in the movie The Village besides Joaquin Phoenix.
Adrian Brody.
That is correct.
And the female lead.
That is correct. Who is it?
She's a woman. I believe it was. Holy crap! Who was it? I'm stuck on Emma Stone, but it's not. Is it? Who the hell is in The Village? Shit, I can't remember. Is it Amy Adams? I don't know.
Looking for Bryce Dallas Howard.
I knew it was a redhead.
It's Bryce Dallas Howard, Joaquin Phoenix, Adrian Brody, Sigourney Weaver's in there.
Really?
William Hurt, and Brendan Gleeson.
Yeah, but everyone comes like right at the very end.
So.
That's a weird one. Are these all M. Night Shyamalan movies, by the way?
No, just those 2. Those are the only 2 that
you should have only done one M. Night question.
So Matt has 1 correct out of 3. You need the last 2.
Are they M. Night questions?
No, he's only been in 2 M. Night. Here you go.
And somehow they both appeared on your trivia.
Joaquin Phoenix called Philip Seymour Hoffman a co-star one time. Name the movie. It came out.
Holy crap, that's hard. Go ahead.
It came out in 2012. Joaquin Phoenix, Philip Seymour Hoffman, 2 of the best.
Wow.
We were doing Cinemajaw.
Yeah, we were.
Mm-hmm. We went eye for an eye with Adam Kempenaar of Film Spotting on this movie. I remember distinctly.
That is a deep cut there,
Yep,
Ryan.
I remember.
Did you have that written in your notes, or you just recall this?
I recall it.
Wow. Can I get a little hint? Maybe just something.
That was the hint. I mean,
that was the hint.
Jesus,
Come on.
I mean, that was a hint of hints.
2012, Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah, 2012. I'll give you a hint. It's a religious movie.
Okay. It's not like the last. No.
I'll give you another hint.
Yeah.
We were both supposed to review it, but back in those days, I only reviewed it.
Jesus Christ Superstar.
No.
David in the Technicolor Dreamcoat.
We were looking for The Master.
The Master. That religious is a bit of a.
Yeah, I was trying to help you a little
herring.
bit. A little bit. All right. Last question. We have stumped you. Last one was this. Joaquin Phoenix called Mark Wahlberg a co-star only one time, and that movie came out in 2000. Name it.
Ted. That was a joke.
Yeah. You're not going to get this one.
Ted didn't come out until like 2005.
Ted's getting a TV series on Peacock.
Good for him. Boy, Seth MacFarlane will just take anything these days. Mark Wahlberg. It was that oil rig movie, Deepwater Horizon.
We're looking for The Yards. You totally blew it, Matt K.
Yeah, I blew it.
So did Phil.
You blew it.
I didn't blow it. I did that on purpose.
I know. I love both those sound bites.
One of them is going to get deleted off the card.
Good times. Man only gets 1 right on Joaquin Phoenix.
I got the first one right. It was like 1.5.
1.5. We'll give you 1.5.
All right, I'll take it.
All right, good stuff. Brings us to the end of a great job. First and foremost, we got to thank our editor, our producer, Fill Me In Phil.
Thank you so much. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else than spending a night with Matt and Ryan. The lovely Matt, the lovely Ryan.
Thanks, Phil.
The lovely Phil.
Yeah.
And the lovely Jawheads that listen. We want to thank our Patreons.
Yeah.
Again, Matt mentioned this in the break. We have started a companion podcast called The Movie Roundup, where we can talk about even more movies. They're a little bit smaller, concise reviews, but at least you get some take on them.
Yeah, no banter. It's just like a straight up review.
Exactly. If you want to get that podcast, we've done 2 episodes so far. If you want to listen to those, just become a Patreon. Go to patreon.com/Cinemajaw. Join the fun, join the family. We'd love to have you.
Yeah, and it helps us, so please do that. And hey, while you're at it, click subscribe wherever you are. That is free and also helps us quite a bit. So just hit buttons around whatever app you're using to listen to this.
100%. Until next week, I'm Ryan, the movie guy.
I'm Matt K. And keep on jawing about the movies.